Welcome back to Rudy's 1/6 World for episode 7 of our new figure showcase, where I'll be doing a quick review / posing session with the newest edition of my collection. And today we'll be looking at an older figure, and that is the Blind Vigilante from Soosoo Toys. Now this is clearly a third-party unlicensed figure, so Soosoo, as other companies have also done before, it had to get creative with the name. But it's clear that this is Matt Murdock, or Daredevil, as he appeared in season 3 of the original series on Netflix. And it's not the first time Soosoo threw their hat into the Daredevil ring, having previously released the season 2 Elektra, as well as the civilian suit Matt Murdock. And the reason I'm doing this review now is that they just released their season 3 Kingpin figure, and I should actually have that one soon, so it'll be nice to pose these two figures together and recreate that final brutal fight from the end of season 3. Plus, at some point either this week or next, Daredevil is supposed to make his reappearance into the MCU with a cameo in She-Hulk, and with his upcoming series coming down the line as well, I think Daredevil is definitely poised to become that critical player in the street side of the MCU. So, other interesting thing to note about this figure is that Soosoo marketed this one as a limited edition with only 300 pieces made worldwide. Whether or not that's true, I'm not sure, to be honest, as I think you can actually still find him for a pretty reasonable price on eBay. So I guess we can't take them at their word for that, but that's just one interesting note. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at the figure itself. And it's not a super complex release, right? I mean, this is Matt following the events of the Defenders. He's lost his suit, he's broken both physically and mentally, and he's kind of going back to his roots where he started in season 1. And his vigilante suit in season 3 is just a simple sweatshirt with black pants, boots, and a few distinctive elements here, mainly around the mask, where he does have the black head wrap meeting the white trim, and more clearly he does have the ropes around his hands and arms, and I believe those are wraps based on bow tie. So it was a clear differentiation from the previous seasons and the looks he had in the Defenders as well. So again, while a simple release, pretty screen accurate. And reflective of that, he doesn't come with much, right? He comes with the standard Soosoo base with the Daredevil insignia on it. He has 4 interchangeable hands with the rope wrapped around the knuckles and the gloves. Although one negative here, if you do look carefully, the fingers aren't very detailed. And I know that might seem like nitpicking, but it's something we've seen done really well with Hot Toys. X06 has been doing this really well as well, and so has Damn Toys. So it's just something small to note here. He also does come with an interchangeable lower face plate, or sculpt actually, and it's done in an interesting way where you actually have to slide off the upper portion of the sculpt and then swap out the pieces. Nothing wrong with the approach at all, works really well. It's really simple actually, but it looks good, and it does have that grimacing look that distinguishes it for those more aggressive poses. He also comes with 2 wood sticks that are plastic that he uses as batons that slide into the holster on his leg. They have some okay paint apps here, nothing crazy but well executed. Now let's look at the figure itself and start by looking at the base head sculpt. And the wrapping around his eyes is well executed here. It is solid molded plastic, but Soosoo did capture good texturing they gave it good paint applications, or especially around the bottom of the wrap where it meets the white fabric. It's done really well and executed well. As for the lower portion of the sculpt, it looks great, and I think it definitely captures Charlie Cox's features, and they did a great job with the facial hair. Now, this was a slightly older Soosoo release, but I think here the face sculpts were already really looking good at that point in time. And looking at his clothing again, straightforward, but they did a good job of capturing that oversized feel of the sweater from the show. And more importantly, they did capture that red trim around the neck, which was distinctive on the show. The only negative with the sculpt that I had was that the tie in the back seems to be slightly unglued from the wrap. So that's something that can't be fixed, but just something to be careful with. The wraps on his arms are plastic, but they did a good job with the detailing to imitate ropes. On closer inspection, you can see some of the mold lines, but again, not a deal breaker, and they did a good job with the bloodied paint apps here as well. Now, looking at the alternate sculpt with the slightly grimace look, I really like how that fits on the figure, and given how much physical duress Daredevil was under in the show, I think it's my favorite of the two. It definitely is showing him engaged in those street fights. One thing to note off the bat here, I'm not sure about the body proportions, and I'm showing him here next to the other Daredevil figures in my collection. The first is the Hot Toys Season 2 Daredevil. The other is a Season 1 release from a third-party company, and I'm sorry, but I'm blanking on that name right now. Although I do know they are re-releasing this. And just as an aside, it's not a bad Season 1 figure. And I'm also standing him next to the Soosoo original Matt Murdock release. And I just think he seems a tad bulky. Not a deal breaker, but Matt isn't a bodybuilder, right? So it just seems like this is, they could have gone with a more slim body. And as we look at some poses, I'll tell you the other negative I had here, and that's the pegs for the hands. At first, I thought, oh, these are great, right? The hands were really solidly placed, but getting them off the wrist pegs does take some force, and I have to be honest, I did feel like I was going to snap them. The other negative is when you're trying to swap out the hands, it's hard because even when applying a ton of pressure, you really have to lock these in or they just fall off the figure. So I think Soosoo just needs to improve on those. As far as posability, he does achieve some nice poses, and I think that the fit of the clothes is loose enough that it isn't much of a hindrance at all, which is always a plus. Overall, though, I really like this figure. I love the Daredevil show on Netflix, and regardless of what's coming next, whether it's a soft reboot or this is a part of the multiverse, I'm personally considering this a part of the MCU. And I think all 3 seasons of the show were some of the best MCU content we've gotten to date. Of all the Netflix MCU shows, I think Daredevil was the crown jewel and the most consistent, and I think Season 3 ended that phase of Daredevil brilliantly. I mean, the final fight with Matt and Kingpin was brutal and savage, and 3 seasons in the making. And if that had been the end of the character, I think it would have been a great send-off. Now, with Kingpin from Season 3 just released, you'll definitely be seeing this figure make another appearance on the showcase, as that figure is tailor-made to be posed with this one. So again, super happy with this. And listen, no figure is perfect, but Soosoo did an awesome job here. And I think the key is that even though it's a simple figure, it doesn't feel like something cheap that they just did to cash in. It's really well done. Now, I do like his actual Daredevil suit, so I'm curious to see what we get in She-Hulk, and I'm sure Hot Toys won't resist releasing something from that series. And then he's rumored to show up in Echo and of course in his own shows. So I think we'll be getting lots of Matt Murdock and Daredevil figures in the future. So that's a quick look at this figure, and as mentioned, look for him to show up again when I get the Soosoo Kingpin. And one thing I've mentioned in the past with Soosoo toys in particular is I think even though this was an older figure, they're definitely starting to improve, and they're, as far as third-party companies go, they're probably at the top of the pile right now in terms of those companies and the quality of the figures they're producing. So are they Hot Toys quality? Not quite yet, but they're getting there. And I'm always pretty happy with what they give us. So let me know what your thoughts are on this figure, or even what you think the future might hold for Daredevil. I do wish we had gotten some other characters from this Netflix era of the MCU, including Stick, but unfortunately I think too much time has passed to even think about revisiting this one. So that's it for this episode, and if you are enjoying the content, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll touch base on the next video.